Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. How are we all doing on this Wednesday morning? This is Reganelite here. Hold on, guys. I was just forgot to put the chat up on YouTube. Let's hope there's no issues with the YouTube chat on my phone today, because we're here for a long one. Not just for the Good Morning Show, but for also Prime Minister's questions. They've already got the feed. They haven't. It's not live, but they've already got the link for it already. So I've got that in the description all ready to go. I have turned off the desktop audio, so once it starts playing randomly and I'm like, what's that noise? You guys won't hear it, but I've got it muted, so you guys won't be able to hear the feed when it starts playing in the background. And literally just as I sit down, I start getting a bit of reflux. Unbelievable, isn't it? I should have you guys know, I went for a long, nice walk to this morning because the weather was gorgeous. I needed it. I felt so much better because yesterday I really was struggling. I was really struggling yesterday because I also had a sore throat. And I struggled to get the Rumble videos done. And then when I was about to start the Patreon ones, I was just like I need some kind of like step back sort of thing. And so I just stepped away from work for the rest of the day. So I do apologize for Patreon supporters because there's going to be no content coming up right now. I'm going to try, and I say the word try, I'm going to try to record some Patreon videos today. After I record some short videos after this live stream for you guys, or after lunch essentially. So I'm going to try and chase them up there for reference there. I do actually have quite a list of things I need to do because there was a lot I couldn't do yesterday because sometimes you need to kind of get yourself in the mood, and it can be difficult for me. So yesterday was a struggle, that's for sure. But it was good that I kind of just like took the rest off, so I kind of needed it there. But for those who are new here, just want to know what's going on and all that kind of thing. My name is Reganelite. This is the Good Morning Show. We do this every Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. We go roughly for about an hour. I give the daily quote. I look at the local weather, and we have a look at the weather forecast for the next couple of days, and then we have a look at the news. Some days we do all sorts, we're UK and world. Some days we do just UK news, and some days we'll do just world news. And today we're going to be looking at world news. We're going to be looking from Al Jazeera, the Associated Press, Middle Eastern Eye, Africa News, New York Times, the Kiev Independent, Euro News, CNN, and maybe a couple more depending on how many stories we come across as well for today. And then just before 12 o'clock, we're going to switch over to Prime Minister's questions, and we're going to hear what's going to be happening there with regards to PMQs. Be interesting to see if Kemi Baganout actually has some decent questions and doesn't shoot herself in the foot like she did last week. However, I'm not putting money on her shooting herself in the foot again, which I'm sure many of you are aware she has a tendency to shoot herself in the foot there. Let me see who we got in the chat. It's got no one in the Twitch chat at the moment. But here, excuse me. Excuse me. Here in the YouTube chat, we got Billy Kershaw, Scott Hayes, Unquiet Badger, Ellie, one of our new moderators. Good to see you there. Mel, good to see you there. Kevin, Scott Hayes, Jenny, Mandy, good to see you there. Sarah Davis, good morning to you. Doc Davis, good morning to you. And Rosemary there. Good to see you all in the chat. Lovely to see so many friendly faces. Right, let's get started, guys. Let's have a look at today's daily quote here. Here it is for the 18th of March. I do recommend going out today if you can, guys. The weather is really, really nice. Cross fingers, it's nice where you are as well there. So here is today's daily quote from Brian Tracy for today's quote. You are a living magnet. What you attract into your life is in harmony with your dominant thoughts. You are a living magnet. What you attract into your life is in harmony with your dominant thoughts. It's an interesting one. Very interesting one there indeed, for sure. Interesting thought indeed. Nice simple one for tomorrow. Ellie asks, who is on the round table other than Data Blase, 100 Pagan? No one. No one, because if I ask, I can ask people, but it'd be short notice. I might just leave it for the three of us tomorrow. I might just leave it for the three of us at this point. I keep saying I'm going to ask someone, and I keep not chasing it up. So apologies for that. Just assume it's going to be the three of us for now. If I get a fourth person in, I'll let you guys know. But I already kind of got in my head my plan for next month's round table. There's two people I definitely want for next month's round table. Whether I can get them both on, I'm not sure. But I definitely want to do a very special one for next month, for sure. Person there, good to see you there as well. Hope you are doing well. Right, let's go to the weather. Let's see what the weather is like here. 1 second. Excuse me. Here is today's weather patterns here with a big, beautiful blue earth where we are all living on. This is set on Wednesday today at 6 p.m. just for reference there. My dominant force is evil, then, says Mel. Good morning, Peter. Hope you are doing well there. Evil. Evil indeed. Very nice and very evil are you, Mel. Let's have a look at some of the weather. I'm not going to spend too much time on the UK weather because it's like, well, I'll run through it, but it's not really too much to touch on it, to be fair. But not too much changes in other patterns here. North America here staying is still very, very cold to Canada, as you expect. Mixed patterns here in the United States there, with some temperatures as low as 2 to some as high as 21, 24, 23. Bit lower down in San Jose, 28. Parts of South America here, as high as 29, 28 degrees, with some as low as 13 there. Again, we've got some same temperatures. Not really too much change in temperatures in Africa here. Temperatures as high as 29, with some as low as 20, respectfully there. Crossing a bit further over here, we got New Zealand sitting at 15 and 16, respectfully there. Temperatures as high as 26 degrees, with some as low as 13 in Australia there. Variations of temperatures, of course, here, with Bangkok sitting at a very warm 28, Philippines 24, Taiwan's capital 20, Shanghai 8, Tokyo there at 13, and the Beijing capital sitting at 3 degrees. New Delhi sitting at a warm 21 degrees, and some of other parts of India 25, 28 in some parts there. Tehran sitting at 11, Baghdad 18, Kuwait City 20, Riyadh 24, with Cairo sitting at 22 there. And we got Port Sudan at 27, Khartoum sitting at 36 degrees. Reykjavik sitting at 1 degrees. They've got a bit of a dry day from the looks of it there as well, which is nice for them. Looking at Europe, this is what we're looking at today from the looks of it here. With Madrid and Lisbon 17 each. Tripoli there sitting at 14, Tunis 14. Rome, the capital of Italy, sitting at 11 degrees there. South of France 14, Parma 11 there. Paris sitting at a nice 13 degrees, same as London, you can see there. Bern sitting at 8 degrees, a little bit not too bad for them. Zagreb there 11, Vienna 14, Prague 10, Berlin 9, Taria 13, Athens 14, Istanbul at 9, Bucharest 9, Chistu 6, Kiev 5, Warsaw 9, Moscow there, Chile 3, St. Petersburg 2, Volgograd 4. And you'll notice it's very, very dry. You notice the whole of Europe's very, very dry. There is some shower heads down on the south of England, and the south of Greece, and parts of Italy. But the vast majority of Europe is very dry. Some clouds, but very, very dry. Parts of Norway there we can see, and parts of Sweden there we got some snowstorms and rain showers. But most of it is dry. Oslo there sitting at 6 degrees for reference there. We can see very warm temperatures. Now, they did say temperatures were going to be very warm today. Just before I go any further, Peter, thank you so much for the £5 super chat for the Yellowknife posse. For the Yellowknife posse. Yes, let's hope our friends in Canada, those who live in Yellowknife, stay nice, warm, and toasty. Very much, of course, because they have to live with those temperatures every day. They do. But I think that there's a sense of we should one day just play a video about Yellowknife, like people who are actually there. Really should be on my bucket list of things to do on this channel. Really should have a look, like a deep dive into the town of Yellowknife. Definitely should do that. Thank you for the £5 super chat. Right, let's have a look So how are we looking today? Yeah, so there is a bit of rain in Ireland, but it's going to fade away. And a bit later on, you can see here, guys, look at these temperatures. Look, later on today, lunchtime, well, 3 o'clock, Manchester, 19 degrees, London, 17, Cardiff, 16. Temperatures not bad in Scotland, with at highs 12, maybe even higher. Belfast and Dublin, 12 and 11 respectfully there. What a stark contrast of change in temperatures we've been having going through, guys. Going overnight, though, those temperatures are going to dip very much. So you're going to go from 16 degrees all the way as low as 6 degrees by Thursday morning. Unbelievable change in temperatures there. You can see overnight. So will be a chilly night. Not too bad in terms of previous temperatures. There will be tiny bits of showers, perhaps in the parts of Scotland, but overall overnight it's going to be dry, guys. It's going to be dry again. As I said, for tomorrow, temperatures looks like going to be having 17 degrees again. So again, warm temperatures in London and Manchester. Not like the 20s, but still going to be warm nonetheless. Here, but Dublin and Belfast going to get some dry spells as well, which is also going to be nice. Casper Norvo, good to see you there in the chat. I hope you are doing well. Edinburgh sitting at 11 degrees. Going a bit further forward. Overnight temperatures 8, 7, 9 and 10 in some parts. Going overnight. These, again, temperatures are going to drop some as low as 5 degrees. So it's going to be chilly in some parts. It will be still chilly at night. It will be still very chilly. It'll drop even further Friday morning. It's going to be very chilly indeed. London 4, Cardiff 5, Manchester 6. 5 and 6. So it's going to be chilly. It's still going to be chilly. Chilly nights. You're still going to get chilly nights. Looking into Friday a bit later on here. I'll go a bit further on. We can see these temperatures again sticking around the same here. Nothing too much to change. Bits of cloud, but again, no rain, no snow. So we've got some dry spells. Plenty of time for the councils to fill those potholes, guys. Going into the next day over Friday night into Saturday morning. Again, drop in temperatures again. Some as low as 5 and 6 degrees again. Going into Saturday in the weekend, we got a nice, decent weather for Saturday. With a bit of cloud, but a nice. It's going to be dry. It's going to be dry, guys. Again, no rain, no snow forecast. Here for Saturday, temperatures at 13, 10 and 11 degrees. Nothing too bad that we can't handle. Here, we're going a bit further on. Over in midnight, okay, Saturday night. Dipping temperatures as you expect again. They dropped quite a fair bit. Might be some tiny bits of showers overnight in parts of Scotland. So yeah, it looks like Sunday morning there'll be some showers on the western coast of Scotland. It looks like you're going to be getting, but nothing really too worrying, to be fair there. If I go a bit further over there, though, it looks like there's a bit of a rainstorm finally going into. That didn't pop up, did it? No. Going a bit further over here, then going into Sunday night. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a bit of a rainstorm in Northern Ireland. I'm just seeing. Looks like overnight on Monday there's going to be a rainstorm there. So yeah, so we'll have a look a bit closer to the time when we get to it there. But pretty much not too much change in the weather patterns, guys, as we spoke about. So yeah, that's really pretty much that there. I'm just checking. I think there was supposed to be a message. Let me just check let me check the chat on here. Did that actually? Yeah, chat is not updating once again on the phone, so I apologize, guys. Casper Northright, thank you for being a member. Much appreciated there. Thank you for joining the membership. Appreciate your support. Yeah, the chat is not updating on the phone again. Maybe the chat will update on this device. Sorry, Twitch chat. I'm just going to try and put the chat up on my other device and see if it will run on that one, the chat, because I can't see the chat when I'm looking at the news. So just give me a second. Let me see if it updates along. Hopefully it will update along on here. Cross fingers. It's definitely an issue that needs to be fixed by YouTube. I don't think it's my devices. Thank you, Scott Hayes, for the £5 super chat. The ice road trucker Alex Debrowski lives in Yellowknife there. Oh, thank you for that. I wasn't aware of. I'm not too aware of ice road truckers there. Okay, it looks like the chat might be updating on my other device, so that's actually good. So I'll just have to use my other device to watch to see comments because, oh, for God's sake, switch it back round. There we go. Don't. Right, let me take it off my other device because maybe I need to reinstall YouTube on my phone. Maybe that's what I need to do. Sorry about this, guys. I just don't like not being able to see the chat. It's very, very important to me. Right, let's have a look at Al Jazeera and see what they're saying there. I'll keep an eye on the chat and see if it updates. Thank you again, Scott, for the super chat. And thank you, Casper Norther, if I haven't said it already. Appreciate it, guys. Really do. Thank you. Right. This is Al Jazeera here. See what we've got here in terms of world news here. So they've got live feed here saying Israel says overnight attack kills Iran's intelligence minister. So it says if Iran launches wave of attacks at neighbours, UAE intercepts strikes over Dubai, Saudi Arabia to host foreign ministers from the region there. This is a developing story that's literally just happened. So Israel said it's killed Iran's internal minister in third assassination in 2 days. If the death of Ismail Kabad is confirmed, it would be the third major high-profile assassination of Iranian leaders in successive days. So we'll wait in confirmation of that. Let's have a look at the live feed itself here. Let's see what the live feed is saying here. Senior Iran intelligence ministry officials also killed, says Israeli army. This is 2 minutes ago. In a statement on the killing of Iran's intelligence minister in an airstrike into Iran overnight, Israel's army said other senior officials in his ministry were eliminated throughout the operation. In a post on X, the army said with the elimination of Kabid, dozens of senior commanders in Iran have been killed in what it describes as continuation of assassination sequence. China will continue to push for a ceasefire in the Middle East, says its foreign minister. China will continue mediating to push for a ceasefire and to end the fight in the Middle East, Foreign Minister Wang Yi has said. In remarks during a meeting in Beijing with the UAE Presidential Special Envoy to China, Yi said the war should never have happened and it has no reason to continue, according to a foreign ministry statement. He also voiced his support for the UAE in safeguarding its sovereignty and security there. 2 killed, 7 wounded in Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon. This was 23 minutes ago. And these images from Lebanon in an apartment was destroyed by an Iranian missile strike. This is inside Israel, that strike. Israel's defense minister says to expect further surprises in 2 front wars. He says army has authorization to hit senior Iranian figures. Iran's defense minister said Iranian intelligence minister killed. Yep. Lebanese interior minister condemns Israeli attacks on civil defense workers. Well, they don't care. They don't care, and they don't care. Iran's parliament speaker says returning women footballers will be welcome home. Iraq restored oil exports through the Kurdish pipeline. That was an hour ago as well. That's going to be an interesting situation there. Missile falls in central Israel. Bahrain says it's intercepted 130 Iranian missiles since hostilities began. Iran's foreign ministry said its air defense has intercepted and destroyed 130 Iranian missiles and 234 drones since the attacks from Tehran had begun. In a post on X, it said it was continuing to confront a successive wave of attacks from Iran. Lebanese president convenes urgent security meeting as Israel's attacks intensify. Israel does not care. Israel does not care. They don't care. Turkey says NATO deploying more defences to guard southern base. NATO is deploying another US Patriot missile defence system to the southern Turkish province of Antalya, where personnel from the US and other countries are located. It's just NATO's largest second largest neighbour said last week. The alliance had deployed a Patriot system to its southeastern major province. It lacked its fully fledged air defences despite development efforts there. And some of the stories there. 11:20 as a timestamp. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on the chat because it's just updated now, but I don't know if it's the apps or if it's YouTube or not, because I had this issue yesterday where the chat was not updating, the live chat was not updating, so I'm not sure, but it seems like it's updating now. Okay, stopped updating on that device. Senegal to appeal decision. That's a football story. Cuba lights begin to return, but the crisis is far from over. Power supply is slowly returning in Havana, but the country's deepening crisis in relation with the US is academic. In the long term, the traffic lights are finally back on, but most of Cuba is still in the dark. Cuba's national power grid collapsed yet again on Monday, and there was no electricity supply across most of the country for most of Tuesday. Power is slowly being restored in the capital, but most parts of the country do not have any supply. Power cuts to Cuba started back in 2019 when the first Trump administration started hammering the country with so-called maximum pressure sanctions that aim to gulf the country's economy of billions of dollars a year, and as a result, the communist government had to drastically cut fuel imports because it simply did not have the cash. Unsurprisingly, Cuba was heavily dependent on oil for generating electricity. It means that power cuts are becoming more frequent and longer. It has been confirmed by the two governments, the two old foes, that they are again locking horns and negotiating. Look, I have my grievances with Cuba's government as well, but I don't like that people are suffering as a result. I don't like it at all. I really, really don't. Qatar can keep goods flowing amid tensions, customs chief has said. Iran launches revenge missile attacks on Israel after assassinations. Do Taliban drone attacks expose a chink in Pakistan's armour? Yeah, that conflict is taking place as well on the border there. Israel bombs in central Beirut Straits south, East Lebanon, killing over 20 there as well. How Iran defies Trump threats to emerge as Strait of Hormuz is gatekeeper. Trump has called another navies to help open the straits, but countries are instead striking deals with Iran. They are indeed, that is for sure. What is this? Mapping the world's most strategic straits and channel. The Panama Beef Strait, yep. Between Yemen and Gulf. You can't actually see it because of the way the screen is done. Sorry guys, can't actually see the screen. So does it show all the strategic points? Yep, the Suez Canal, the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, the Turkish Strait, Strait of Gibraltar. Yep, that's another vital point. The Danish Strait. Yep, that's another important strait there. Now the Strait of Macadilla. Yep, of course, between Malaysia and Singapore. Of course. Taiwan Strait. Well, you can kind of go around that one, to be fair, but yeah, it does have, of course, it's important. Of course, the Panama Canal, one of the most important there. Another one, the Cape of Good Hope. That's around South Africa. There, is that all of them then? Yeah, interesting. That was interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Al Jazeera. That was interesting for sure. Yeah, of all the straits that hold strategic importance, some very, very interesting indeed there. Yeah, so the chat has stopped updating on YouTube, but it's up not on YouTube. It's stopped updating on my phone, but it's still updating on my other device, which is a bit weird. So just for reference there. So it's stopped updating again. So I will try to reset the app, reinstall the app, and then I'll see if anyone else is on YouTube having the same issue. Because normally when someone has an issue, they start moaning about it on Twitter. It might be because my device is old as well. My phone is an old iPhone for reference. So this is the Associated Press here. Let's have a look. So Iran launches barrage of missiles after an Israeli strike kills its security chief. China ignores Trump Hormon's request as Iran war deepens and his Beijing trip slips. About 90 ships cross the Strait of Hormuz as Iran exports millions of barrels of oil despite the war. So the oil is still getting out. It's just only the ships that Iran allows that are getting out. US top official are set to testify about Iran's war and threats confronting the homeland. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Like, they're going to be trying to justify it. I'm not buying it there. Obviously, one of the big stories is the resignation of Joe Kent. That's a very big one there. The US counterterrorism official who resigned yesterday has been a staunch supporter of President Donald Trump through the 2020 election defeat, January 6 rioters, and years of conservative media advocacy and failed congressional bids. In Trump's war in Iran and his alliance with Israel against the Islamic clerics who led the Tehran government was too much for Joe Kent. Resigning as director of US National Counterterrorism Center, Kent said Iran's pose no immediate threat to our nation. And he asserted that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. The 45-year-old Special Forces combat veteran with ties to right-wing extremists, Kent was considered much of a loyalist as Trump could have in government's top counterterrorism plot. This is a MAGA guy through and through, and he's turned his back on it because, you know, in his good conscience, he can't continue to support it. In his good conscience. 5 talking in 20 spies, says Mel there. Everyone's saying Road and Hardtail, good to see you there. So will Kemi attack Starmer posturing in the Middle East? I don't know. That's going to be a good question there. That'll be a good question at PMQs. I don't know if what she's gonna say. I think she's gonna talk more. I think she might go on the oil issue again. I'm not sure what her attack line is going to be. I'm not sure, but she's gonna have something to attack there. Casper says I'm drinking tea. Get the tea down, ya. What else is there? Illinois Lieutenant Governor Julia Stratton wins Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. As Trump keeps Texas guessing, neither Cornyn nor Paxton backs down from Republican Senate runoff. Mills and Platinum spar over attack ad in intensification of Marine primary to face Susan Collins there. A 7-ton meteor that fell from the Cleveland side could be seen several states away. Oh, wow. You got a screenshot? We got a screenshot of this? Wow. Is that actually a video? Blooming adverts. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this meteor, guys. Ooh. Wow. Fascinating. Fascinating indeed. That was a 7-ton meteor that spread across the Cleveland skies at 45,000 miles per hour on Tuesday before breaking apart at a thunderous boom startled residents who feared an explosion. People several states away reported seeing the bright fireball even though it was 9 a.m. The American Meteor Society said it received reports from Wisconsin to Mary. NASA later confirmed that a meteor nearly 6 feet in diameter. This one really did look like it's a fireball, which means it's a meteorite, a small asteroid. So much stuff is being launched, and that a lot of times what you see burning up is just re-entering satellites. But usually they don't get especially bright, he said. The meteor was first seen about 50 miles above Lake Erie near Lorraine. It travelled more than 34 miles through the upper atmosphere before fragmenting over North Valley, north of Media. NASA said in a statement from Bill Cook, who leads the agency's Meteor Environments Office in Hustonville, Alabama. Good morning, Leapskin. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, so it appears my other device is working. Yeah. At least I can see the chat now, which is good. Right, what else is there going on in the news around the world? One person dead and another wounded in a shooting at a US Air Force base in New Mexico. What's this about? A shooting at a US Air Force base in New Mexico on Tuesday left one person dead and another wounded, according to military officials. The Hollow Man Air Force Base near Alamogordo in southern New Mexico was put on lockdown at 5:30 p.m. because of reports of an active shooting near the base convenience store, according to a statement released by the 49th Wing. The person wounded has been taken for medical treatment. According to the statement, security officials confirmed the base is safe and the lockdown was lifted. Emergency personnel are responding to the situation. There is no threat at this time, the statement said. The base convenience store was closed until further notice. The base said in a post on Facebook, neither names of the people shot nor additional details on the shooting have been released. They're keeping quiet about it. Not getting too much information about it. Attorney General Pam Bondi subpoenaed to answer questions from Congress about the Epstein files. That's coming up as a short video. That one I'm going to do as a short video for reference. So I'm not going to touch that one right now. Man arrested after climbing into Pyjim Hippo Moondeg enclosure at Tai Su. Why would you do that? Why would you get into a hippo enclosure, you dummy? A man's been arrested after he was caught climbing into an enclosure of Moondeng, the adorable Pyongyang hippo, who became a social media sensation, zoo officials said. The Thai man allegedly entered the enclosure on Tuesday evening while a keeper was away and no other visitors were around. The Kyoto Open Zoo director had told the Associated Press. Security footage widely shared online showed a man wearing a black beanie, sunglasses and a green tank top and brown shorts approaching Moondeng and her mother Jonah while holding a tablet, apparently recording or taking photos. The man remained inside the enclosure for a minute or two before staff noticed him, adding that he did not attempt to flee while the zoo called the police. Moondeng soared to stardom shortly after she was born in 2024, largely thanks to a keeper who shared adorable pictures and videos of the baby hippo on social media. Since then, she has drawn large crowds from Thailand and abroad who want to witness her charm in person and shoot photos and videos of her cute moments for themselves. Police have initially charged the man with trespassing, but investigation is still ongoing. Now it said the zoo intends to pursue all available legal action. Police did not identify the subject. Man has been released on bail. So it looks like the person who got into the enclosure was not a threat and just wanted close-up photos and videos. Thought he could get away with it and basically got caught out. That's good. At least nothing terrible happened to him and nothing terrible happened to Hippo. But yeah, you really shouldn't be getting in the enclosure. Like, I know people want to get really, really close, but it's just like, just don't do it. Just don't. Trump tariffs are hurting American manufacturers instead of helping them. Nah, you don't say. Mandami's administration wants to pull legal support for ex-New York City Mayor Adams' sexual assault lawsuit. Interesting. Wants to stop representing Eric Adams in a lawsuit that alleges that the former mayor sexually assaulted a woman more than 3 decades ago, according to a court filing on Tuesday. The move comes just a few months after Mandami took office following a bitter campaign season last year. They had the two Democrats turning and... Sorry, I'm trying to get the chat back up on this device here. The move comes after Mandami took following a bitter campaign last year. Had the two Democrats bashing each other over cause, often caustic in personal terms. The suit, filed while Adams was still in office, accuses the former mayor of sexually assaulting a woman, Lauren Beach Matilia, in 1993 when he was a police officer, alleging that he demanded a sexual favour in exchange for his help in advancing her career in the police department. Adams has vehemently denied the allegation and said he did not remember meeting her. The Associated Press does not typically identify alleged victims of sexual assault in stories unless their consent is being named, as Beachamita has done through her attorney. In a statement, Todd Shabino, a spokesperson for Adams, said the former mayor remains confident that the facts will ultimately prevail. Motion from the city's Corporation Council to withdraw from the civil case argues that Adams is not entitled to city-funded legal support because he was not acting within the scope of his city employment at the time of the alleged assault. A spokesperson for Mandami said on Tuesday that the move was made independently by the Corporation Council, as required by law, and that the mayor did not direct the Corporation Council to undertake this review, nor did he instruct the Corporation Council to reach a particular demonstration. This is exactly what enemies of Mandawi will say. They will say, look, he's using his powers to go after other people. It's like, no, it's just nothing to do with him. But they'll still spin this anyway. Of course, Mayor Mandawi has full faith and confidence in the Corporation Council's independent judgment and its ability to reach its appropriate and just legal conclusions, said the spokesperson. Obviously, I don't know if Mayor Adams is actually did this or not, and obviously it's a case still going. But if he is, then, you know, if he is found to be guilty, well, he should just face the full wrath of the law for it. So, you know, let's see how the case goes for Eric Adams. There, Kenya's capital experiments with giving workers measles leave. Interesting one there. The meteor there is the most watched video. The Colosseum polishes up for its 9 million visitors. Dog rescue from elevated train platform in Philadelphia. A 13-year-old boy swims for hours to save his mother and siblings who were swept away. A 13-year-old boy swam for 4 hours in the cold and choppy waters to save his mother and 2 younger siblings who had been swept off the sea of Western Australia. What an amazing story. This will be, don't be surprised if this is a future good news video. 13-year-old boy swam for 4 hours in the cold and choppy waters to save his mother and 2 younger siblings who had been swept out to sea off the coast of Western Australia. The family from the state capital Perth were using kayaks and paddleboards on Friday morning when rough oceans and wind conditions started dragging them out. Teenager Austin Elby swam about 4 kilometres, that's 2.5 miles, to shore to raise the alarm, police said. The waves are massive and I have no life jacket on. I just kept thinking, just keep swimming, Austin said on Tuesday. And I finally made it to shore and I hit the bottom of the beach and I just collapsed. Austin said he initially set off in an inflatable kayak wearing a life jacket, but the ocean was rough and the vessel was taking too much water, so he abandoned it. He then discarded the life jacket because it impeded his swimming. He said he tried to focus on the positive thoughts. The family had set off for their second adventure before noon. Austin raised the alarm at 6 p.m. and a helicopter spotted his mother, his 12-year-old brother, and his 8-year-old sister as there. The family had drifted about 14 kilometres and he spent about 10 hours in the water. The actions of the 13-year-old boy cannot be praised highly enough. His determination and courage ultimately saved the lives of his mother and his siblings, the police inspector said. Joanne Abbott told reporters that she sent her oldest child for help because she could not leave all her children stranded in the ocean. One of the hardest decisions I've had to make was to say to Austin, try to get to shore and get some help. This could get really serious very quickly, she told the news. She said when she started out feeling confident that she reached the shore, but was filled with doubt when the sun started to set and help had still not arrived. We kept positive, we were singing and we were joking, and we were treating it as a bit of a game until the sun started to go down. So we all getting very bit choppy, very big waves. By the time they were rescued, all 3 of them were shivering and Beard had lost sensation of his legs because of the cold. 3 babies, all 3 made it, and that's all that mattered. Yep, that is all that matters. What I love. That was definitely worth reading. Wonderful, wonderful story. Very happy to hear that. Fair play to the young man. That's definitely a lovely story to have read. For sure. Nice, positive story. Trump postpones his China trip to focus on the war in Iran. Israel claims another top Iranian. Yeah, we know about that story. Any other stories here worth looking at? No, we'll leave it there for now. Switch gears. Let's see what else is happening here. Give me a second. Let's have a look at Middle East and I, see what they're saying here. It says live feed there. It says Israel says overnight strikes killed Iran's intelligence minister. Meanwhile, one of UAE's top diplomats says Trump will bring a diplomatic conclusion to the war in his time. Apparently there. The US-Israeli war on Iran is doomed to fail. It will take down America's crumbling empire. That looks like that sounds like an opinion piece. What does the death of the philosopher's security chief mean for Iran? It's not going to... All you're doing is pissing Iran off and uniting them more than ever behind the regime by killing all these people. It's not going to, like, Is it hurting Iran? Yes, but is it going to just bring down their government? No. Just don't see that. Just got a random text message from a random number from a claiming to be the Department of Work and Pensions. Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely from them. By wresting control of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has turned the tables on the US. Worship in Jerusalem has been overshadowed by oppression and fear. This is a short video that's going to come out in a few days. Unprecedented expulsion. The United Nations says Israel has displaced 36,000 Palestinians in the West Bank, guys. 36,000 people have been displaced in the West Bank. Absolutely disgusting. Lial Koridia, longest detained pro-Palestinian protester, has been free from ICE custody. A U.S. immigration judge set her bond at $100,000, despite her not being a flight risk. After spending 2 consecutive Ramadans behind bars, Lial Koridia was free from U.S. immigration detention on Monday in what lawyers have described as a staggering $100,000 bond. Her legal team said the bond was nonetheless paid immediately. The 33-year-old Palestinian immigrant whose home is in New Jersey was released from the Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, after the Trump administration chose not to challenge what was a further release ordered by an immigration judge. They previously appealed the first and second order for a release. I'm free. There's a lot of injustice in this place. Yeah, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be here in the first place. Korea's cousin told Middle Eastern Eye on Tuesday that Korea was in relatively good spirits and already at the mosque for Ramadan prayers by Monday evening. It was an extremely emotional day for me. He said receiving a call about Korea's release. After going to base in South Florida, I had to pull over a random gas station to process it all. Last month, Korea had to be hospitalized after fainting, hitting her head and suffering a seizure. She had never experienced seizures before, her family said. While in hospital for 3 days, Korea was chained to her bed before being taken back to the detention center. Her lawyers also expressed concerns about her weight loss. The New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani said on social media that he raised Korea's case with President Donald Trump during their meeting last month, and adding that he's grateful for her release after she spoke up for Palestinian rights. So this is the same woman that Zohran Mamdani was fighting to get released. Of all the arrests linked to pro-Palestine campus made by the Trump administration last year, Korea was the last one still languishing in detention. This is 100% Islamophobic, anti-Palestinian liberation issue because she spoke out against Israel, she told Middle Eastern Eye. It's heartbreaking. It's not just America. It's not the America I thought I was born in, she added. So literally she was locked up simply because she criticised Israel. That's literally it. Literally the only reason, guys. Israel assess Iranians would be slaughtered if they rise up against the Islamic Republic. Palestinian Islamic leader issues thorough call for Eid prayers outside Al Aswada Mosque. Counter-terrorism chief says in resignation letter that Israel deceived Trump into... Yep, that's the... we already spoke about that already. The US-Israeli war on Iran is founded on 2 huge mistakes, according to an analysis piece there. They got an exclusive there. Israel to keep the Al Aswada Mosque closed through Eid al-Fitr and beyond. Yeah, what a surprise. Make life worse for Palestinians, why don't you? They're already bad enough. I managed to escape Gaza, but now carry the shame of being safe. Can this US-Israeli war choice on Iran be stopped? Could the Gulf states learn from Ukraine's drone revolution? Yep, they could. They could. They could indeed. Those are some of the stories there from Middle Eastern Eye. Let's have a look at Africa News, see what they are saying there. Not really a lot on Africa. They've got some stories in some there, but most of them got quite a few on the Middle East there. Security analysts on Majorine attacks. The city has always been vulnerable. A Republican Congo president re-elected for a 5th term. Provisional results have shown. The Republic of Congo president has been re-elected for a 5th consecutive term, according to provisional results announced on Tuesday by the authorities. Sassou Nguesso won 94.82% of the vote. The Interior Minister Raymond Tseboune Massakou announced on state television. 6 other candidates challenged the 82-year-old for the top job in the Central African country that boasts one of the largest oil reserves in sub-Saharan Africa. 94.82% of the vote in a country that is rife with corruption and problems. Yeah, that's definitely a legit vote, right? No, it's definitely not legit. The internet was shut down across the country as usual during the presidential election, and traffic was restricted across the capital. The Interior Minister reported a turnout of 84.65% and 2.6 million cast ballots, but many polling stations in the capital, Brazzaville, saw short of non-existent lines, as locals did not believe that the election would result in a change in leadership in Sadou Ganisco, who has ruled for 42 years. He has ruled for 42 years, so he's been in charge as long as I've been born. Okay. He first came to power in 1979. I was born in 1988 and ruled until 1992 when he organised the country's first multi-party elections. He returned to power as a militia leader following a 4-month civil war in 1997. Campaign period shows a vast mismatch between Senegal and his opponents, with the incumbents being the only candidate to travel around the country and canvass the vote. Roads in the capital city, Brazzaville, paved the way for Sinou's effortlessness. 2 other major parties boycotted the elections over allegations of unfair electoral practices. Yeah. So once again, a case of someone holding on to power and they're not going to let it go. And you can tell he's looking old there. I don't know how old he is. Does it say how old he is? 82 years old, guys. So what was it? Was it the Cameroon president that's older? I think the Cameroon president's going to be like in his 90s there. So, yeah. More old leaders, guys. That's definitely what Africa needs. More old leaders. What else is there here? Let's have a look on the right-hand side here. It says China's to Beijing's AI Robotics Expo highlights healthcare-focused smart robots. Abandoned by the world, Congolese rights activists call for justice, peace, and equal and respect. The conflict between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is ongoing despite recent US-backed efforts to ease tensions. At the heart of the crisis lies deep geopolitical, historical, and economic tensions, especially over Congo's rich mineral resources. They spoke to Dimas Kiskine-Saga, president of the human rights organization Group, based in Kiskasgi, northeastern DRC. He said life in the conflict zone is increasingly desperate since the resurgence of the AFC, that's the M23 rebel movements. Many areas in eastern Congo have fallen under its control. Quote, there is no longer any direct transport or communication between the east and the west. Residents in occupied territories must often pass through Rwanda to reach other parts of their own country. Civil servants go unpaid. Local economies have collapsed. Goods can only circulate under severe restrictions. Meanwhile, Washington Agreement Peace Accord hails a breakthrough between the DRC and Rwanda has not brought the promised ceasefire. Fighting continues, he says, warning that violence has even spread into previous unaffected regions. The agreement also raised public concerns because it opens the door for American companies to exploit Congolese mineral wealth. What a surprise. People should expect such deals should generally benefit Congolese citizens. That daily life should improve, meaning that people's living conditions and standards of living should get better, and that people should truly feel their resources bringing them well-being. Originally, Congolese want fair returns from their resources, particularly as Rwandan stands to only benefit the same accord, even if it stands accused of looting Congo's mineral wealth. 6 days after the agreement signing, Rwanda's president launched an offensive on UVIVA. The US quickly imposed sanctions on Rwanda's army, prompting a partial withdrawal for Kinskers. That's proof that sanctions work and the international community could do more. These sanctions need to be stepped up and all Rwandan troops leave Congolese territory, he said. To break the cycle of conflict surrounding eastern Congo's mineral resources, Kinley said authorities need to strengthen democratic governance in the Great Lake region, establish a judicial system that end impunity for war crimes, build self-sustaining national economies that can resist exploration, and finally, he says, the international community needs to apply consistent standards and acknowledging the gravity of the crimes committed in the DRC. Congolese victims feel abandoned by the world, he says. All we ask is for justice, peace, and equal respect for the people of the DRC. Yeah. It is a country that You know, it's the worst place in the world geography-wise. Its regions. It's very difficult to get around in that country, and it's caused by massive conflicts, as we established already. Like, there's just so many problems. Like, getting actually resources into Congo is a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare. Some parts of it, you know, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe one of the main ways of getting resources in is by the boat, by a sea, by the river. I believe it is. Absolutely, just a massive problem. It is. Dublin St Patrick Festival draws 500,000 as Irish roots take centre stage. Fantastic there. Fantastic to see. I attended the St Patrick's Day parade in London on Sunday. Really enjoyed that. It was lovely parade that was. Stuff on the Middle East there. Iran's missile strike near Tel Aviv kills elderly couple. Israel's airstrikes flattens Beirut. CF overturns Senegal win. President of Nigeria's Magariki on high alert after coordinated explosion kills 23 lives there. From there. Witchy Golf, good to see you there in the chat. Hope you are doing well. Do check out Witchy Golf's live stream there. YouTube channel, sorry, she'll be going live at 6 o'clock today. Do check that out there. Goddamn reflux. Well, that reflux is going to be the bane of me when I'm older, guys, I swear. Right, let's have a look at the New York Times, see what they're saying here. Got about 8 minutes left. Has the feed come up yet? Yeah, so the feed is already up. Just 1 second, guys. Let me just mute that and that. There we go. Okay. So they've got the feed up already. That's good. Yeah, see, it seems like the chat is updating on one of my devices, but on the phone, yeah, it's still not updating there. So, which is a bit of a shame. Netanyahu hopes strikes on Iran will lead to uprising and regime change. I don't think that's going to happen. Karg Island is an appealing target for Trump with high risks. Trump's friendship with Japan leader faces tests over Iran. Indeed. 4 weeks change in gas prices, plus 27%. Why this jump in US gas prices feel different? Here's a state-by-state look at the increase, how it could affect you. That's insane for the gas prices. Absolutely insane. I do recommend, there's a video by Ed Conway from Sky News on oil and gas here in the UK. I think it's quite a fascinating one. And I actually done a Speaking My Mind video today on that. It's going to come out, not going to come out for a while though, but I do think it's worth checking out Sky's video. It's about 15-16 minutes long. I do recommend checking it out. Because some of the things that he talked about, reform could use as tactics to undermine the climate goal, is what I'll say. As the war in Iran drags on, Europe wants to avoid a new migration crisis. Intelligence officials to face questions on Iran at Senate hearing. Betting on Ayatollah ousting ignites aid over prediction markets. Trump says the US does not need or desire help from allies on Iran. If you hate Trump economies, I have news for you, says an opinion piece there. Well, the news is he ain't going anywhere right now. Trump promised the world's lowest drug prices. We checked the numbers and they found out, guess it's not true. Firm that plan, Trump's January the 6th rally received no bid contracts there. Trump administration has given the company staffed by President's allies multi-million-dollar contracts was guaranteed to win. Picked to lead the Homeland Security faces confirmation hearing. Years after Trump's takeover, Institute of Peace is little more than scenery. Excuse me. Judge orders Voice of America to restart all news operations. Inside, Jeffrey Epstein's push to cleanse he's passed online. We study mass shootings. Something terrifying is happening online. Americans are stuck in a dead end exploiting part-time jobs. He's openly anti-Semitic. Young male conservatives in Florida love him. He lost a leg for Russia. Then he says his country betrayed him. In prison for murder, Alexandria Askostoskin sought a new start by signing up to fight in Ukraine, but he says promised benefits proved illusionary there. Is Latin America banned in Cuba? Late night wonders with former president spoke about Trump and Iran. Stratton wins APAC powers in tested for Illinois takeaway. Some of the primary results there in Illinois. Trump claims to have received a House Republican terminal diagnosis. Tax bill haunting your 401k and the IRA. Any other interesting stories here? Under Roman Abramovich, Chelsea broke rules for years, Premier League says. The Russian oligarch spent nearly 2 decades building the club into a superpower. That success was built partly on regulation breaches and investigation found. What a surprise! What a surprise! I'm so glad I stopped following football, guys. So glad I did. Premier League is the richest soccer league. Doesn't make it the best. Senegal is stripped of the African Championship after walkout in the final. Oh, so that's what that story is about. Interesting. Any other stories here? Not really. Let's have a look. I'm just going to quickly come to the chat on this device here. Yes, it's updated fine there. Let's have a quick look at the Kiev Independent before we switch over to PMQs. Guys, could be starting soon. We are 3 Super Chats away from today's Super Chat goal. Also want to remind people as well that I'll be live again tonight at 8 o'clock. And I do plan to do a bit of an after chat on Discord as well. So if anybody wants to come on Discord after that, after the live stream tonight, you can do as well. And we can just have a chat. It doesn't have to be about losing politics. It could be about anything you want as well. Kind of want to get more people interacting on Discord. So do consider joining me for a chat there. Just have a quick look here. I'm just going to give it a quick refresh before. Amid Iran's war, Ukrainian drones fear Zelensky risks missing a window of opportunity. Zelensky meets the Spanish Prime Minister in Madrid today. Russian strikes on Ukraine kill at least 2 and injure 20 others in the past day there. Iran says projectile hit near nuclear power station where Russian staff are stationed. No damage or casualties were reported, Tasnim news agency wrote, citing the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran. Will become Belarus. Oban's chances sees election as a last chance. So basically, Hungary will become Russia's puppet forever. If Orbán wins this election, any chance of it turning itself around is all over for Hungary. They will literally become just like Belarus. Literally. Which, just ask the Belarusian people how they're doing. Oh, that's right. They can't say anything because if they do, they'll disappear. 201 Ukrainian drone experts are now in the Middle East helping counter Iranian attacks, Zelensky says. Iran's war risks delaying Ukrainian peace talks, Zelensky says, urges Trump style of reconciliation. Russia slams EU warmongers for not backing Trump's war against its allies. Too bad. And I think we've got to stop there because we are very, very close to PMQ starting. Just because I just noticed the time there. PM is already sitting down. So that's all from the Good Morning Show, guys. We're going to be going to PMQs in just a moment. I'll be starting shortly here. So I'll be going in that in a moment. I'm going to just reset this again here. Good morning, DJ Martimu. Hope you are doing well. Hopefully the Twitch chat will update there. What a bet it will be rigged, says DJ Martimu. Which election? The midterms could be, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that, I think. And that, if that's the election you're referring to there. Yeah, let's see what. I'm curious to see how Kemi conducts herself in this one. Hopefully, we'll have some interesting questions.
Please, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our deepest condolences are with the families and friends of the 2 young people who've died following the outbreak of meningitis B in Kent. Others are seriously ill, and this will be a deeply difficult time for their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, health experts are working to identify close contacts and distribute antibiotics, and will begin a targeted vaccination programme in the coming days. And can I take this opportunity to ask anyone who attended Club Chemistry on March 5th, 6th or 7th to come forward, please, to receive antibiotics? And Mr. Speaker, yesterday President Zelensky addressed parliamentarians. Many people were there, and I had the opportunity to reaffirm to him that no matter other international events, the UK's support for Ukraine will not waver. I also welcome Prime Minister Carney and NATO Secretary General Rutte to Downing Street for further discussions on international security. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I first of all associate myself with the comments and the condolences made by the Prime Minister regarding those people affected by the meningitis outbreak. New data today shows that nearly 60% of hospices are considering cutting frontline services. In the West Midlands, St Giles Hospice has already reduced beds and reduced staff due to financial pressures. So with services being cut, can the Prime Minister explain why hospices are being told to wait until autumn for the new framework, and will he commit today to proper long-term sustainable funding to secure this vital lifeline for the future?
Prime Minister.
It is important that the funding and the framework is put in place, and we support the work of hospices and doing everything we can to support them.
Dr. Ray Timble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Caroline from Grenoside told me that since December the cost of her heating oil has nearly tripled from £257 to £700. Local farmers I met last week also raised their concerns that the oil industry has not been properly regulated, disadvantaging off-grid customers. Whilst I welcome the government's £53 million support package that was announced for rural communities, will the Prime Minister confirm how disabled people, vulnerable and low-income households can access this support, and how he will improve regulation of oil to bring down the cost of energy bills?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank her? My first instinct is always to protect people from the cost of living. The immediate action we've taken in relation to those that heat their homes with oil is the £53 million that we announced this week. That's particularly important for rural communities and, of course, Northern Ireland. But de-escalation in the Middle East is the quickest way to reduce the cost of living. And anyone who advocated for the UK to rush headlong into the offensive without a clear picture of what it meant for our forces, or without thinking through the economic impact for families, should stand up and apologise.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Beno.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister tried to avoid scrutiny on the Mandelson files by releasing the documents immediately after Prime Minister's questions last week. So let me ask him now. Did the Prime Minister personally speak to Peter Mandelson about his relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before appointing him as our ambassador to Washington?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start where I must. This was my mistake in making the appointment, and I've apologised to the victims of Epstein. I do so again. The government is complying with the humble address in full, but we are also continuing to support the police in their investigation. The matter of process was looked at by the independent advisor on ministerial standards. It's clear the appointment process wasn't strong enough, and that's why I've already strengthened it. But it was my mistake, Mr. Speaker, and I've apologised for it. She should follow suit and apologise for a gross error of judgment in calling for the UK to join the war in Iran without thinking through the consequences.
That she's not the Prime Minister, respectfully, Keir. You need to answer that question, because that is because I want an answer to that, and you dodged the question.
Mr. Speaker, I know he doesn't want to talk about the documents he tried to bury last week. He's going to try and talk about anything else, but he's not going to get away with it. I asked him a question he did not answer. We know the Prime Minister was warned about the risk of appointing Peter Mandelson. This is not about the process.
Yep.
He knew that Mandelson stayed in Epstein's house after Epstein had been convicted for child prostitution. He knew that, so I will ask him again. Did he speak to Peter Mandelson about this before the appointment, yes or no?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've already made clear that he was asked questions and gave untruthful replies. The government is complying with the humble address. The process has been set out. The independent advisor has looked at it. And he said, quote, the relevant process for a political appointee was followed. Now, obviously, this is a question of my judgment, but what about her judgment? She wanted to rush into a war with Iran without thinking it through.
Listen. Look, I want to make this clear. Like, Kemi's already been dead and buried last week on that question about her last week. And I know he's trying to put that on her, but you're the Prime Minister. You made the appointment. You're being asked a very honest question here, and I have to say, like, you're not painting a very good picture of yourself, saying my judgment is in question. But what about her? Well, the difference is, Keir, she's not the Prime Minister. You are. You need to answer this.
At the weekend, Mr. Speaker, three weeks in, she said, "Oh, there isn't a clear plan behind the US strikes in Iran." That's the question she should have asked at the start. The decision to commit the UK to a war is the biggest decision a Prime Minister can take, and she got it completely wrong.
I didn't hear an answer, Mr. Speaker, and he's right. It is about his judgment. He has repeatedly told us that Peter Mandelson lied to him, but he won't tell us if he actually picked up the phone and spoke to Mandelson before appointing him. This doesn't make any sense. The Prime Minister told us on the record, and I quote, "I believed the lies he told me." If the Prime Minister didn't speak to him, how can he say he lied to him?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the process is clear. It's been looked at by the independent advisor. And she asked me about the process and judgment on appointments. She appointed the Shadow Justice Secretary. He said last night that Muslims praying in public, including the Mayor of London, practising his faith, are not welcome. He described it as an act of domination, straight from the Islamist playbook. If we're in my team, he'd be gone. It's utterly appalling. She should denounce his comments and she should sack him.
I'm not denying that he should sack him, but again, like, you're deflecting from your own questions here, Keir. It's not very good.
He wants to talk about Justice Secretaries. His Justice Secretary is abolishing jury trials. My Shadow Justice Secretary is defending British values. I know who I would rather have sitting on the front bench next to me, and it's not him.
Prime Minister.
Got to ask you a question.
Mr. Speaker, this is important. He does want to talk about anything else except what I'm asking him. 3 times I have asked him if the Prime Minister spoke to Peter Mandelson. 3 times he has refused to answer. We can only assume he did not speak to Peter Mandelson. From the documents published, we know he left the questioning of Mandelson's relationship with a convicted paedophile to 2 of Mandelson's closest friends, one of whom was also friends with a convicted paedophile. Asking those questions should have been his job. Why did he fail to do his duty?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, so her position is that the Shadow Justice Secretary is defending British values when he says Muslims praying together in Trafalgar Square are not welcome.
Listen, I'm not defending the comments in any way from the Shadow Justice Secretary, but this is not about him. This is not about Kemi. This is about you, Keir, and I'm sorry, you don't have a leg to stand on here.
Mr. Speaker, even Tommy Robinson, I can hardly believe I'm saying this, has said today that if the Shadow Justice Secretary had made these hateful comments 2 years ago, the Conservative Party would have kicked him out. Now, Tommy Robinson isn't some sort of moral signpost. He was pointing out how much their party has changed. They're more inclined to his views, and he's...
shouldn't be using that name. Like, I really hate this. I hate this. Why put his name in PMQs? Why are you putting Tommy Robinson's name in the spotlight? You shouldn't even be mentioning the guy's name. Why are you even mentioning his name? You're putting him in the spotlight by literally mentioning him. Why are you even saying his name? You shouldn't even be mentioning his name. Just like Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. You shouldn't be commenting on it. Shouldn't be saying anything. You've literally just given people a platform and a reason to look up his name. People who don't know about him are now going to know about him because you're mentioning him. Shouldn't be mentioning people like that.
He's right about that. The fact that he's sitting on her front bench shows she's too weak and has got absolutely no judgment.
The Prime Minister wants to talk about my leadership. I'm shocked because his former deputy has just fired the starting gun on the race to replace him. And I'll tell him one thing. She and I both agree that this weak man should be replaced by a strong woman.
She's done it again.
But I'm not finished, Mr. Speaker. I have too much to say to him. There is still a lot to ask. There is still a lot to ask about the Mandelson files. There's still a lot to ask. The Prime Minister knew that Mandelson had kept up a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The documents released also show he'd been warned about appointing Mandelson. He claims he was lied to. Mandelson had twice been fired for dishonesty. So why did the Prime Minister believe Peter Mandelson over the vetting documents?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she asked about leadership. When I see religious events in Trafalgar Square, when I see Hindus celebrating Diwali, when I see Jews celebrating Hanukkah live, when I see Christians performing the Passion of Christ, or Muslims praying, that shows the great strength of our diverse city and country. I've never heard her party call out anything other than the Muslim events. It's only when Muslims are praying. The only conclusion is the Tory party has got a problem with Muslims.
Can I just say, people say, I am not responsible for the answers. I've just got to say that. Come here.
He's not answering the questions. It's so infuriating.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a shame he's not responsible for the answers either. The Prime Minister wants us to believe that he is a serious leader, but he doesn't do the work. He outsources the decisions, and when things go wrong, he blames the vetting, he blames the Chief of Staff, he blames the Cabinet Secretary, he blames anyone but himself. This Prime Minister appointed Peter Mandelson, but didn't bother to ask the questions. If he cannot be straight with the House on something as simple as this, why should we believe a word he says about anything?
Yes, got a point.
She talks about doesn't do it. 3 weeks ago, she said we should rush into war. She didn't do the work. She didn't think through the consequences. Committing our military to a war without thinking through the consequences is the gravest mistake a leader of the opposition can ever. And she comes back a week later and says, oops, I got that one wrong. She's utterly irrelevant and she's got no judgment. This is the leader of the opposition who said I should have empty-chaired the most important NATO summit in years. This is the leader of the opposition who said Greenland is a second-order issue. And this is the leader of the opposition who jumped into a war with Iran without stopping to think. On top of that this week, the failure to condemn and sack...
Order. And I will repeat again, I'm not responsible for the answers, but it's certainly not opposition questions.
Well, that's exactly what it feels like here. This is a real joke from Keir Starmer, I have to say. Kemi wasn't great either, but Keir's not looked good here.
Mr. Speaker, add to that the failure to condemn and sack the Shadow Justice Secretary for the poison and division that he spreads. It's turning out to be quite a month for the leader of the opposition who claims she never makes any mistakes.
Yep.
Mr. Speaker.
I agree, Miss LB. It is an absolute shambles. This was a terrible PMQs.
Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, please, Claire Hannah.
We've seen this play out before. A US rush to military escalation with no plan for what comes next. We've seen schoolgirls bombed in Iran, whole families killed in Lebanon, chaos in a region already scarred by repression and genocide, and economic shocks that hurt the most vulnerable at home. In Irish, there's a phrase, "Ní altar and Sianach we go." Have we learned no lessons? People are asking exactly that. How many times do these horrors play out before the lessons are learned? The Prime Minister has said that the US will not be drawn into a wider war. Will he guarantee two things: that that position will hold in the face of mounting pressure from Trump and Netanyahu, and can he guarantee that this House would get a vote before the UK involves in any further conflict?
Prime Minister.
Unlike the Leader of the Opposition, my principles have been clear and unwavering. We will protect our people in the region. We will take action to defend ourselves and our allies, and we will not be drawn into the wider war. I want to see this war end as quickly as possible. Mr. Speaker, the longer it continues, the bigger the impact on the cost of living. And that's where we've intervened to support households with costs of heating oil. The best way forward is a negotiated settlement with Iran giving up any aspirations to develop a nuclear weapon.
Look, you can you can point out what you're doing in it with regards to our situation in Iran all you want, but you can't dodge what's happened with the Al-Manson scandal. And this is a very, I know Kemi Adams, her attack lines have been pretty piss poor, but this was the best thing to hit Starmer and hit Starmer over the head with. And Starmer's just dodged the question. It's not a very good look for him at all. Starmer's just signed his own resignation letter. He's gone after the May elections. I don't want to say yes because I feel like what's happening in Iran requires his leadership from the UK perspective, but it's a case of wait and see after it, I think, right now. But yeah, I can see him going after it as well. They're both a joke, little kids in the playground, says Ellie. Yeah, they are indeed. Viper Scott, thank you for the £2 super chat. The pantomime of wastemongers. Hi all. Hello Viper Scott, good to see you there. Thank you for the £2 super chat. Hope you are doing well. What about your principles on trans folks, Keir? Exactly. You know, what's happening with the LGBTQ communities is and the trans communities, the way they're being treated by Labour has been absolutely nothing short of disgusting. You know, disgusting. Their rights are being questioned because they've ruled on they sided with the judges or with the judge's order, which is absolutely outrageous.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I join the Prime Minister in offering my condolences to the family and friends of the two young people who've been killed by the meningitis bug in Kent and all those affected by this horrifying outbreak. Mr. Speaker, Britain's independent nuclear deterrent is critical for the defence of our nation and for the whole of Europe. But the current Trident missiles will reach the end of their lives in the 2040s, so we have to make a choice now. Lease new missiles to the United States, accepting whatever terms the President gives us, or build our own here in the United Kingdom. And the Conservatives and Reform say we have to rely on President Trump and the United States because we couldn't possibly do it ourselves. Does the Prime Minister agree with them?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our independent nuclear deterrent protects us every day, and we should never forget how important it is. And it is important that we renew it. We will do that in the best interests of Britain. I mean, he's openly advocating a plan which he doesn't know how much it would cost and how it would work. That isn't the way to deal with our independent nuclear deterrent.
It's not independent if the button is controlled by the United States, you flipping moron. We don't control the nuclear missiles here in the UK, or in particular in Scotland. We don't. The United States does. Now, yes, one point he does make is there is a cost to it. Absolutely there is a cost. And you know what? It's a very anti-green position for us to be building nuclear missiles. Get rid of Trident. I don't want us to not have nuclear weapons because we've seen in history the consequences of not having nuclear weapons. I know people in the chat are not going to like that comment, but given the fact that we've seen countries without nuclear weapons suffer as a direct result of not having them, But at the same time, it's like, well, you're going to be spending billions and billions of pounds building a nuclear warhead that you're never going to push the button on just for a deterrent. I mean, people might say, oh, but Regan, where we are geography-wise, no way we're going to get attacked. Well, just in this world, you just don't know, guys.
Sir Ed Davey.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised at that response. The French can do it. Does the Prime Minister really think Britain can't? But moving on, Mr. Speaker, a New World investigation into GB News has found hundreds of shocking breaches of the rules of impartiality and accuracy. Yet Ofcom has repeatedly refused to take action. Andrew Neil says, just as Fox basically became the channel of Donald Trump, it is clear they have turned GB News into the Reform channel. Mr. Speaker, we cannot let GB News propaganda turn our great country into their version of Trump's America. Either the government rules aren't fit for purpose, or Ofcom isn't properly enforcing them. Prime Minister, which is it?
Prime Minister.
Well, he's right to raise an important question of free speech and our media. It is a matter for Ofcom, and it's important that we let them deal with it.
They're not dealing with it. They're not dealing with it, and you're sitting there and allowing them to get away with it. You don't realise what's happening. Because, yeah, your government, your party, didn't impose Leveson, didn't impose restrictions on our media. Yeah, that's what's fucking up this country. Because people are believing the bullshit that's coming out of the mouth of some of these right-wing influencers, of some of these right-wing politicians, because you're allowing them to be put on these platforms to misguide and mislead people about things that are actually happening in the UK. You're allowing it to happen. It was bad enough, yeah, with the Conservatives allowing it to flow. But you're sitting there and allowing it to happen.
Come on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Violence against women and girls is a global emergency. It's a key concern that we discussed at last week's United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. Social media platforms are promoting and profiting off vile online misogyny. It's made its way onto playgrounds, workplaces, relationships, and even our politics, harming women and girls and exploiting young men and boys. In the manosphere, everyone loses. Can I ask the Prime Minister what this government is doing to tackle the harm being caused by hateful forces online?
They could start by going after right-wing news channels who are undermining women. How about that?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her and the others who attended the UN Commission for the Status of Women event? We are committed, Mr. Speaker, to halving violence against women and girls wherever it takes place, whether that's online, offline, or on our streets. That includes banning deepfakes, tackling non-consensual intimate images and abusive vile content online. And can I say, Mr. Speaker, following up from last week, I was deeply concerned that Travelodge cancelled their meeting with MPs. I want them to put that right and put it right swiftly.
That's disgusting. That is fucking disgusting as Travelodge.
Sir Jeremy Wright.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. January of last year, I raised with the Prime Minister the issue of inadequate and inaccessible compensation for those injured by COVID vaccinations. The Prime Minister undertook to look into it along with the Health Secretary, but I'm afraid that more than a year later, no significant progress has been made. Now, I know that the Prime Minister and the Government recognise the risk this issue poses to public confidence in mass vaccination, all the more important given the Prime Minister's opening remarks in this session, and indeed the pain it's caused to those who've been injured or lost loved ones, only doing what their government asked them to do. So can I ask the Prime Minister please to re-engage with this issue and ensure that his government makes swift progress now in resolving it?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising it, acknowledge the question he asked me last year in relation to this, and actually pay tribute to him and to Kate for her campaign. It's vital that we look closely at the rare and tragic cases where things went wrong. We mustn't fail to do so, because that will maintain confidence in our health service. Important in relation to COVID, of course, but important, as he rightly points out, today as well. We are committed to looking at reforms to the vaccine damage payment scheme and engaging with those affected to make sure it meets their needs. Specifically, we expect the fourth module of the COVID inquiry to report next month, which will look specifically at the issue that he has raised. And I can reassure him we'll look at other recommendations very closely.
Don Butler.
Good answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the international conference last week, it is clear that mobile phone theft is international organised crime, dragging in young people as young as 14 years old. The Mayor of London and the Met Commissioner have spent money in latest tech to combat this crime, and it's working, but they need help. Manufacturers have the ability to invoke a kill switch so that mobile phones stolen are worthless, but they're not doing it. Samsung's taking it more seriously than Apple. Will the Prime Minister agree with me that if manufacturers do not do this, that the government will implement legislation to design out crime and keep our streets safe?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for her question and welcome the Mayor of London's crackdown? The Metropolitan Police have made hundreds of arrests, recovered thousands of phones, and mobile phone theft has fallen. I agree with her there's more to do, and we must work with tech industry in order to do so, because if we can reduce the value of stolen phones, it helps bring the business models that drives theft. So we're committed to those working with the industry. We're willing to consider any further necessary action to drive down on this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the Chancellor announced £2 billion funding for UK sovereign AI and quantum. And DCIT Select Committee was told government procurement will adapt to encourage UK companies to develop sovereign AI systems for government use. In light of these positive events, will the Prime Minister ensure this happens with key digital systems in health, defence and policing made sovereign and not recontracted to politically motivated US companies like Palantir, but re-tendered to UK companies?
Yes.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him? And as he says, the Chancellor set out yesterday the huge economic opportunities of innovation and AI. We've put £5 billion behind British startups, and we'll launch our sovereign AI unit with $500 million to help AI businesses start and grow. Investing the $2 billion that he referenced in our quantum capabilities, so we can be the first country in the world to roll out quantum computers at scale. Procurements must be the launch pad for startups, and we're determined to deliver that.
Didn't answer the question.
David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. NHS waiting lists are down 374,000 thanks to this government. While reform would take us back to the days when decent healthcare was only for people who could afford it. Innovation needs to be at the heart of our health service when striving for better patient care. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that Huddersfield Royal Infirmary's partnership with Huddersfield University's Health Innovation Centre is a great example of this? And can he tell me how the government intends to expand the brilliant model of health innovation centres nationally?
Well, it is a good example, and he makes a very powerful point. Thanks to our record investment in the NHS, Mr. Speaker, we have the lowest waiting list for 3 years, the shortest waits in A&E for 4 years, and the fastest ambulance response time for 5 years.
Unfortunately, there's still people in corridors in hospitals, and that has been recorded as recently as a few weeks ago. So you're still having that problem, Keir Starmer. Yes, I accept there have been improvements, but you still haven't dealt with that one.
Stronger community health services, like the local innovation centre that he mentions, are at the heart of our 10-year plan to go further. But we would not have come this far already, Mr. Speaker, without the decisions made at the budget, which were opposed by all of the parties opposite.
DJ Marty Moo says you can wipe iPhones remotely and enable activation lock. That makes them incredibly difficult for someone else to activate them and use. There. Thank you for sharing that, DJ Marty. As someone who is an iPhone holder, you got to be. I'm very. This is a specific reason why whenever I travel, I either have my phone either in an inside pocket or in a zip pocket, one of the two. Because open pockets, I'm always paranoid about things falling out. And one thing I don't ever recommend, and I know a lot of young girls do it, is they tend to put their phones in their back pockets. I see that quite a lot from young girls out and about and whatnot, and I'm just like, for me, it's like you are literally asking for your phone to be stolen. If you're somebody that has a young girl, please teach them not to put their phone in their back pocket, because they are asking for their phone to be stolen, just as a reference.
Sir David Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, in the government's attack on jury trials, his own backbenchers said the following: unworkable, unjust, unpopular, unnecessary.
He's right.
Wrong in principle, wrong in practice.
Yep.
Oppressive, authoritarian, and quite honestly, reactionary.
Yep.
3,000 of his own lawyers, his own fellow lawyers, said juries have not caused this crisis.
Yep.
And the Prime Minister himself, earlier in his career, said scrapping juries enables wrongful convictions. Now the Institute for Government is saying that they are massively overestimating the savings they're going to make on this. So let's be clear. His backbenchers oppose it, his professional colleagues oppose it, and in a previous life, he opposed it. So why is the Prime Minister forcing through a policy that's unjust in principle, unworkable in practice, and opposed by everyone?
I have to agree. I don't like him, and I don't like the Conservatives, but there's nothing that he said that I didn't agree with, guys. Hate to say that. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. Just one more to the goal there. Thank you. All hail the Democratic Penguins Republic, Ollie and the Quackers. Yes, we will get to them at the end of the show. I'll show them off at the end of the show. Thank you for that £2 super chat. Much appreciated.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we're not abolishing jury trial, and he knows that.
You're right. You're not abolishing it, but you're significantly reducing it. You're gonna make. There's gonna be more unfair results, unfair verdicts. Sorry, is the right word. As a direct result of the changes that you're going to be making. Let's be absolutely clear about what's going to happen. These changes will make verdicts more unfair. That's what it will do.
I've worked with women and girls who've been victims of sexual violence and rape, who have waited a very, very long time for their cases to come to court.
It's not going to change. Oh my God. They literally said he's using the argument. He's using the fecking argument of if we do this, it will reduce times. It won't. Experts have said this. Barristers have said this. Lawyers have said this. The experts have said this will not make a big difference. It may make a slight difference. This is what they said. It may make a slight difference in reducing the list, but it's not going to fix it. It's not. He thinks it's going to fix it. I'm saying it's not. If the experts are saying it's not, if the lawyers are saying it's not, if his own backbenchers and barristers are saying it's not going to work, why does he insist that this is going to work?
Many of them drop out because of the wait. They have described to me personally the mental anguish that they go through when their case can't get heard for years, when they're told of adjournments time and time again.
I completely understand where he's coming from with the frustration of the system and trying to find a solution to cut it down. I completely and totally understand that point. I'm not going to argue with Keir Starmer on that. However, his solution doesn't fix it. That's the problem. The solution is more investment, more courts open, more. We need to have more judges appointed. We need to have more jury trials. We need to have more courtrooms. That's what we need. We've lost a lot of them over austerity. We need to pump money in to have them reopened so that we can have those cases knocked down. You want to reduce the backlog? Get more courtrooms. Get more barristers. Get more people hire more people in the system. Put the money into the system. That's the solution. Solution isn't tweaking a few things here and there. That's not going to fix the issue.
I'm not prepared to look them in the eye any longer and not do something about it. We owe it to them. This is about getting the balance right. We're not abolishing jury trial. There's about 3% of cases go to jury trial, as he very well knows. 97% don't. After this, it'll be 2.25%. That is the difference between the policy we're advancing and the policy as it now is. So it's not abolishing jury trials, but I'm not prepared to see those who've been victims of violence against women and girls, I'm not prepared to see them repeatedly let down. That's what happened for 14 long years. It's not good enough, and I set my face about doing something about it.
You're absolutely right, the Conservatives let them down. I'm not arguing that, I'm not debating that. But this idea, this solution, is not going to fix the issue. It's just not. Reopen the old courtrooms and start a mass recruitment drive. Exactly, DJ. Exactly. This is what we need to do. You have to put the money in. The government doesn't want to put the money in. I'm telling them, you've got to put the money in. If you don't put the money in, you're not going to fix the solution. You can't tweak the system. You can't just do a few tweaks and expect the backlog to go down. You have to put the money in. Records amount of money has been poured into the NHS, and we've seen some of those results and we've seen some of the positives as a direct result of them putting huge amounts of money into our national healthcare service. You've got to do the same here. I'm sorry, I know the Chancellor doesn't want to put her hand in her pocket. I get that, but we have to be realistic about the situation. Yeah, we want to see people face justice, and this is the same situation when it comes to the prison system as well. It's what happened to being judged by a jury of peers, says blah blah. Thank you for the £2 super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you for helping me reach today's super chat goal. Exactly, blah blah. It's really, really important. Jury trials are so important to our so-called democracy, to our justice system. So important. And the thing is, once you start reducing it, yeah, it can go down a dangerous slide. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about it going down a dangerous slide by just doing this here. You can see it going further down the line.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I spent 20 years as a secondary school teacher in Wales. Yeah. We worked hard. Yeah. Labour has given them the biggest upgrade of rights in a generation. Yeah. Rights that millions of us fought hard to win. But the honourable member for Clacton wants to chuck it all in the bin. Yeah. Does the Prime Minister stand by these rights and agree that only a vote for Labour in May will enshrine these fundamental workers' rights?
Mr. Speaker, I am very proud of our Employment Rights Act. It delivers strong rights and protections, including for all our brilliant school staff. And reform, he's right, would rip up those protections. They have nothing to offer but grievance and division. And, Mr. Speaker, they have no judgment, because just like the Leader of the Opposition, the member for Clacton said we should do all we can to support the US strikes, and he said, I make that perfectly clear. It was perfectly clear. He got it completely wrong, and perfectly clear that he's now desperately trying to U-turn. Absolutely no judgment, not fit to be Prime Minister.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the course of the last year, our North Sea neighbours, Norway, have opened 49 drill sites for gas and oil. On our side of the North Sea, the number is 0. Given that our critical reserve of natural gas is down to 2 days and how vulnerable we are, and with talk potentially of energy rationing coming later this year, isn't it time we change course, got rid of excessive taxation on the exploration companies, opened up the licences, became self-sufficient in natural gas, and with that would come thousands of jobs, increased tax revenues, and cheaper gas prices. Isn't it time we followed Norway? Yeah.
Hey, he saw that video from Ed Conway this morning, didn't he? And yeah, I'm gonna save the conversation for another time.
Mr. Speaker, oil and gas will be part of the mix of our energy for many years to come, as I've set out many times. But he's now highlighting the consequences of the war that he said we should rush into. He wanted us to go to war. He said it was perfectly clear that we should support the strikes. Then, just like the Leader of the Opposition, a week later, he said, oh, no, I got that one wrong. You can't make mistakes about decisions as serious as committing to war. It's a gross error.
he didn't really answer the question too much on it as well. But yeah, we don't need new oil and gas licenses. We need investment in renewables. Yeah, that is, and Ed Miliband is pushing that. Ed Miliband is definitely pushing that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 95% of the food that we import from non-EU countries has lower welfare standards than that of British farmers, costing us millions and putting worse food on our plates. So that's why the Labour Rural Research Group will be shortly launching our spring push on farming profitability to support British farmers by introducing honest labelling and levelling the playing field for trade and regulation. So will the Prime Minister commit to meeting with me and the LRRG to discuss how we can work to back British farmers and improve their profitability?
I'm very happy to discuss that with my honourable friend. We will always protect high welfare standards and through our food and drink deal, bringing down barriers for farmers selling to our largest market. Mr. Speaker, alongside a record £11.8 billion farming budget and investing in cutting-edge innovation, our farming profitability review is focused on boosting profitability. Now, I've already acted and set up the Farming and Food Partnership Board, investing £30 million in our Farmer Collaboration Fund.
Greg Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Traffic chaos from a botched road realignment affecting Calvert Green, Steeple, Claydon and Twyford. Landowners still awaiting payment for land taken. Woeful underfunding of promised mitigation projects in Wendover in inadequate noise modelling. Now, the Prime Minister and I used to, many years ago, be united in our opposition to HS2. He changed. But with the upcoming HS2 reset, will he make a personal intervention to ensure that my constituents and communities living with this hell on earth of a construction project are finally treated with the fairness and respect that they deserve?
Prime Minister. Can I thank him for raising this? I do know how much it impacts his constituents and how deeply they feel about it. And it is important, as we reset and clear up the mess that was left, that we bear in mind and have in our mind's eye those that are most affected and make sure that it is fair and that their voices are heard, and we will do so.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Burnley-Manchester Road Station is a key driver for growth. It's Burnley's link to Manchester and Leeds, and more importantly for them, it's their link to Burnley. It's had over 500,000 journeys last year, and yet it's inaccessible. Despite big, empty promises from the last Tory government, we're no further to fixing it. A promise of funding was made, which never came. Will he help me get this delivered and back my campaign to make Burnley-Manchester Road an accessible, modern station fit for Burnley's ambition?
He's a great champion on this issue, and I'll make sure he gets a meeting with the Rail Minister to discuss the detail. The previous government that took the decision not to shortlist Burnley-Manchester Road Station for accessibility improvements. We're giving Lancashire Combined County Authority £641 million with the freedom to invest in their priorities, including better accessibility. That's what a Labour government represents, empowering local people to make the best decisions for their local area.
Andrew Snowden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Every week the Prime Minister comes here and reads out this pre-scripted nonsense that bears no resemblance to the questions he's actually asked.
Wow.
The Leader of the Opposition asked him about Peter Mandelson and he answered about the war in Iran. The Leader of the Opposition asked him about Mandelson again and he answered with an attack on the Shadow Justice Secretary. He was asked about Mandelson again and talked about protests in London. What is he scared of? What is he hiding? For a man who has spent years presenting himself as a forensic investigator, he has certainly had a blind spot to the details for this convicted paedophile with a friend in high Labour places. So I shall ask him again, when he found out that Lord Mandelson had an ongoing relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, did he speak to him personally before appointing him ambassador to the United States?
Mr. Speaker, we've set out the process. It has been. But I know why they don't want.
It was very good. It was a very good destruction of Keir Starmer. I'll give him credit.
They don't want to talk about the war because they supported going into the war without thinking through the consequences. That is a huge error of judgment. I realise they don't want to talk about it ever again. I'm not surprised. Nor do they want to talk about the Shadow Justice Secretary saying that Muslims are not welcome to prayer in Trafalgar Square. She should remove him from their front bench or I suspect he'll be up there next on that trail.
Matt Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Prime Minister mentioned earlier, the CEO of Travelodge has today again refused to attend a meeting with wider members of this House and the other place to answer serious concerns about guest safety and safeguarding. This refusal only deepens the lack of trust in the company's commitment to protecting women and vulnerable guests. Will the Prime Minister meet with me and invite the CEO of Travelodge to discuss the issue, and will he join me in urging the CEO to explain directly to all parliamentarians why she is unwilling to face scrutiny on such an important matter?
Well said.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank him for raising this, and he's raised this with me personally. Our thoughts are obviously with the victims. I was very concerned to hear that the CEO of Travelodge cancelled the meeting with MPs, and I would urge them to reconsider. That meeting needs to go ahead with relevant MPs and with the relevant minister, and the sooner it goes ahead, the better. And I hope that the CEO of Travelodge is listening to this exchange, and I thank him for raising it, not just on this occasion, but on repeated occasions.
Yes, well said.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the front benches change over.
Okay, so so again, I have to say we had no questions from the SNP, which I'm again disappointed. We had no questions from the Green Party, disappointed. We had no questions from any independents, and we had one question from Reform. We had, I think we had only 2 questions from Lib Dems, and one of them was Ed Davey, and we had quite a few from the Conservatives there. Again, like I've mentioned this before about PMQs, every single political party should be allowed to at least have one question, and it pisses me off that they don't get to do that. They really do need to alter that system. I know the whole system is a joke, but like they can certainly tweak it so that every single political party gets to ask at least one question a week to the Prime Minister, and it doesn't, and they can rotate it between MPs. Like it really should be done. It really should be done there. I will say that Nigel Farage, obviously, his question will pack some punch to some people on the right, and of course, you know, he got he was obviously never going to respond to Keir Starmer directly, because that question is literally just for clicks and likes online. That's all it was, guys. That's all his question was there. I thought Kemi Baganott's attack lines were pretty good. She did trip over herself not once but twice, forgetting to actually answer a question to the Prime Minister as she was about to sit down, which was very silly of her there. I think it was very good for her to keep pushing that question on the Peter Mandelson thing, because Keir Starmer, despite him attacking her and her party over changing their position on the war in Iran, and rightfully, yeah, that was the right thing for him to do. So doesn't change the fact that they were that he didn't answer. Excuse me. Doesn't change the fact that he didn't. Apologies for that. Doesn't change the fact that he still didn't answer the question on Peter Mandelson. He dodged the questions on them, and that wasn't a very good look for him. And I think Kemi was right to go after him on the Peter Mandelson situation there. And he can deflect all he wants, but the fact is he didn't answer the questions, and he turned it into nothing more than an attack on the Conservatives. And while we all accept what the Conservatives' positions are and what he said about the Shadow Justice Secretary, doesn't change the fact that he didn't answer that question, which is a big problem there. Also, fuck Travelodge. Don't ever use them, guys, as well, just for reference there. Right, I want to say thank you to everyone who came along for today for the Good Morning Show and for Prime Minister's questions. Thank you guys for all your comments. I will be back live tonight at 8 o'clock for the watch along show, so please join me for that if you can. I have short videos and I have Patreon content to do between now and then. So thank you guys all again for being here. Thank you to everyone who gave super chats today. Thank you, Captain Northrup, for becoming a YouTube member as well. Greatly appreciate. Hope to see you guys tonight. And just a reminder that there will be a roundtable live stream tomorrow at 8 with myself, One Angry Pagan and Daily Blase. I may get a fourth guest in by then, hopefully, but I'll let you guys know about that. But if you can for me, on your way out, please hit that like button, share it across social media, subscribe if you haven't already, check out Rumble and Patreon. Links for both of those platforms are in the description as well. Consider joining our free Discord community. I will be doing an after chat after tonight's live stream at 8 o'clock as well. Probably finish around about 9:30 or so. So if you want to join me on Discord tonight as well, you can do that as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.